That's it. The little blue box is on, and we are live today. We've come on as a extra special, as we have special guests with us. Today is Saturday, the 10th of March, 2018. On the panel is Astral, who's English, who lives in Denmark. Patricia, UK. We've got Levkungfu, and our special guest is Masta. And it's Canada, isn't it? You come from?
Yes, it's Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and it's cold over here.
Yeah, we've had that cold spell. It's sort of getting a little bit warmer, but it's just grey.
We've got the last remnants of snow here today, but otherwise it's disappearing.
Nice. Thank gosh.
Yeah, that was a bit heavy, wasn't it, with all that snow?
Yeah, we've been trying to do live hangouts for a little while now, and it seems like every weekend, we get pounded with a snowstorm. So finally, we're able to talk.
Oh yeah, because your job, isn't it? Your job means when it's snowing, you have to go and do things.
Yeah, I gotta go get the snowblower, get the truck, shovels, and we gotta go to all these different sites. So yeah, so that's me. Do you want me to give a little background?
Oh, I was so when did you become all this flat Earth thing? When did it all hit you, all the truth and?
Well, I guess you could say that when I was about 18, I started questioning things a little deeper. I started questioning the laws that we have and why we have them, and I started looking up, maritime admiralty law, and just kind of getting really upset that our whole society thinks that we need things like driver's licenses just to travel around, and you got to put on your seatbelt or else you get a ticket. It just seemed like we were being controlled and we didn't really ask ourselves why. And so that led me on to just like a kind of a deeper and deeper search for truth. And I like history, so world history was not a problem. I took a couple courses on that. And when I came upon the flat Earth about 2.5 years ago, I saw it in my sidebar, and I just completely didn't even click it because I was like, okay, well, it's 2000, whatever it was at the time, and people still think that the Earth could be flat. We have pictures and we have astronauts, so I'm not even gonna entertain it. I kept on going and kept on going, and then I felt like I hit like a brick wall with my growth and progression. And then so I was just bored on YouTube one day, and I had already watched all my videos that I wanted to watch later, and all of that. And I said, you know what? Let me just give it a try. And so I clicked on a video, and it was like a Globebuster or Jeranism video, and then shortly after was a Eric Dubé and a Matt Boylan video, and it just sent me down this whole path that I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with for about 2 years now. Yeah, so that's me.
Yeah, I was a bit like, when I saw it, I was like, no, because I'd just done 9/11 for a few years. I thought, I can't get into something else now. And then about a few weeks later, I looked into it. It was like, oh, right. Yeah. So do you have a lot of support around you? I mean, like everybody around you believe in?
Well, I have people that listen, and they consciously listen. They ask questions. So the discussions that we have face to face are a lot different than the debates online or the discussions with like agents, you know what I mean, or whoever, because there just seems to be like a natural progression. So like from friends, family, they seem genuinely interested, when they ask their questions. It doesn't seem to be very patronizing. So yeah, I wouldn't say that it's been horrible.
Well, I'm glad for you then, because a lot of us, we get people who just think we're crazy. That's it. No other words. We are crazy. Like, what the hell is she going on about? Or, you know, it's on the television, so it's got to be real. So I'm glad that you've got support. So, and your partner, she's okay about flat Earth.
Yeah, we kind of discovered it together. I mean, I kind of went in off the deep end and then like kind of showed her, but yeah, she is game. She understands it. She gets it. Maybe it's the way I explain it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, you sound very nice at explaining things. Yeah, and even Astral was in that shop today. He went up to a stranger, didn't you, Astral, in the shop, and said to her it's flat, and she said, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah, certainly did. Yeah, I like to what can I say? Cold call people like that in a sense, you know, because whatever reaction they get, I can always judge from that how to my next question, you know. But she was all into it. Yeah, I didn't need to go any further there. The point.
Yeah,
but
what a shock.
The point of the exercise.
Somebody else out than you.
Yeah, but the point of the exercise, it wasn't just her, because there was like another 8 or 10 people in the shop, and I made sure that all the people in the shop heard me, like, you know, and they also heard her because she was quite vocal and loud, so it was good. Yeah, we're gaining ground.
Yay! We need to gain the ground.
I'm busy with a soldering iron and a few things here, but I'm listening and I'm all ears.
Yeah. Well, the reason we've asked, I asked Masterpiece, was that he wanted to talk about the eclipse, didn't you? That last year that you'd done some filming and you found your own anomalies and you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. Ever since I was a little kid, actually, I'm an artist. I'm actually I'm a visual artist. I paint and draw, and that's how I support myself mostly. I do portraiture, family pictures, you name it. So being an artist, being able to observe at a higher level, I would say, than my peers, it gave me the ability to ask certain questions. And one of the questions that I had, actually, when I looked at the eclipse, I had many questions when I was young. Because if it's a shadow moving over the surface of something else, then it should have looked, in my opinion, a lot different than what we were seeing. So with that, with the whole education system and everything, indoctrination, it kind of got pushed to the background until more recently, until I came back upon this flat earth truth, because all these questions started flooding back to my head that I had when I was a child. And just for reference, I'm just going to quickly share my screen, and I won't show the link or anything like that. So right here,
yeah, perfect.
Right here is
you did that?
Yeah, this is a painting that I did. This was like 5 feet wide by like 3 or 4 feet tall.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
That's
I love
lovely.
That is so fresh, man.
Thanks. Yeah. The only things that I had to work with was a picture of her and a picture of him, and they're a couple, and kind of everything else I kind of put together. So when I say that I understand light and shadow, I truly do, and I just want to show you that's the level that I am working at when I do my art. Now I'm going to switch the screen to another window. 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to share the eclipse information. So here we go. There's 4 factors, and if you guys are ready, I'm ready. If that's okay,
yeah,
I just
okay,
great.
We can see it all.
Perfect. Okay, well, so in the video that I put out, and you guys can look this up, it's Lunar Eclipse 2018, 100% proof moon is not a sphere. You may have seen this video being shared by Globebusters or Eric Dubé or D Marble, but I'm the one that made this video, and in it comes to 4 factors that we should consider when we're looking at the lunar eclipse. I call it the confirmation factor, the shadow diffusion factor, the sine wave or the S factor, and the reflected light factor. Now I'm just going to play the video, if that's okay, because I think that would.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, is that okay if I play it?
Yeah, cool.
Okay, great. The shadow diffusion factor, the sine wave or S factor, and the reflected light factor. Firstly, I would like to point out the consistency of how a shadow naturally moves along varied surface types. This is the confirmation factor. A shadow will conform to any shape that the surface takes, thus, in a way, revealing the true shape of an object. If a shadow moves along something rigid like stairs, it will take the stairs shape, revealing the level differential from step to step. If a shadow moves along a concave object like a bowl, the shadow will stretch and skew, revealing the concavity of the bowl. If a shadow was to move over the surface of a sphere, it would stretch and skew in a spherical manner, wrapping and receding as it bevels and distorts along the sphere's surface. Note that this does not and has never happened on the surface of the moon during an eclipse. Which brings us to our next factor, the shadow diffusion factor. Note, the shadow is more crisp on the edge of the bowl than it is in the lowest portion of the bowl, and sharpens as it rises back up to the edge or the source of the shadow. Note also that on a sphere, the shadow is most diffused or scattered around the edges as the sphere's surface recedes, and it is the most sharp or defined on the closest portion of the sphere. This is because the closer the source of the shadow is to the surface, the more defined its edges. The further the source of the shadow is from the surface, the larger and more faded or diffused it becomes. Another way to say this is if you place an object on a surface with a light source above, the object's shadow will appear most sharp when the object is at rest. But lift the object closer to its light source, and you will see the shadow lose its crisp edges and dull or fade away, sometimes to the point where little to no shadow remains. This is the shadow diffusion factor, and in conjunction with the first factor, the confirmation to the surface factor, the shadow not only rises and falls, stretches and skews with the surface, but also sharpens and dulls. Now, right here, when we see a sphere that I'm holding above this other sphere, when we see it approaching the surface and move towards the middle, we can see that it cones up. It makes a very obvious oval on the side, and that is because only you can see here only this portion of the sphere that I'm holding up is being cut off. And if you could kind of imagine like a vesica Pisces. Now, if you transfer that portion that's getting cut off onto the surface of the sphere that I'm showing here, you can see why I'm saying that it should stretch and skew, because the surface of the sphere should pull it down like it always does. These two factors are almost all we need to find the true topography or shape of the moon. Yet one factor is missing. This is called the sine wave factor, or S factor. Because the moon is said to be a sphere, the shadow that is projected onto the moon should also take on the characteristics of the sphere. This critical factor does not appear on the moon's eclipses whatsoever. The sine wave factor, or the S factor, is what happens as an object, round or straight, spherical or bent, passes over a sphere's surface. As the shadow moves onto a sphere, it is wrapping around its curve. Starting from the outer edge and moving towards the middle, the shadow takes on the spherical contour and bends upward at its height, then falls backwards in a barrel-distorted manner. The shadow will always follow the closest edge due to perspective. The shadow will continue to create the S shape until it reaches the halfway point. As the shadow moves beyond the halfway point, it begins to bevel outward again in a barrel distortion manner. When a shadow moves along a 3D sphere, the center or closest part of the sphere to the observer is the most flat, and the shadow's shape and size the most true to life. The sphere will never be flat, but the bigger the sphere is, the less acute the angle of its curvature. So, because the innermost portion of the sphere is the closest to the observer, the less curvature is observed. However, when we observe any lunar eclipse, there is no wrapping, stretching, skewing, sharpening, or dulling of the shadow. In fact, every single lunar eclipse looks as if there is one flat disk moving across another flat disk. Okay, I want you to watch this very carefully, because here I have a flat surface, a white painted flat surface, and I'm moving a sphere across it, or a round object across it, and I'm going to flip it. I'm going to put the flat surface over the sphere, and I think it's just interesting to note how much it resembles, how much the lunar eclipse resembles a shadow moving over a flat surface. So just keep your eyes on that, on the left. The circular shadow moves along the moon. It maintains its circular shape the whole way at the same pace. No stretching, no skewing, no sharpening or dulling. Hopefully you all understood that, as it was quite hard for me to put into words. Okay, now this is a smoking gun right here, because a lot of, after I put this video out, a lot of people said, yeah, but you know, we're looking at the moon straight on, and we won't see it warping because we're looking straight on. Well, no sharpening. Look here as the shadow is leaving the moon. Okay, one sec here, or the surface of a sphere. You see how it kind of has that Nike check? This is very synonymous to when we were looking at the eclipses, when the shadow was coming from the top down, and you know, the sun was above the horizon and the moon was above the horizon and the shadow was coming from the top. We don't have to be on an angle because the shadow is already displaced. So it did it for us. So it warps, and it makes that kind of Pepsi type, Nike type shape, and that should be constant. That should be something that we see when it is a partial lunar eclipse. And before I get into something else, does anybody have any questions?
Wow, thanks for your observations. Yeah, it's nice that, you know, explaining the way you explained it is really good. Thank you.
No problem. Now, a
lot of things you think about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is there questions in the chat, or?
No, I was just saying a lot of things. You're looking at it, how you explained it all.
This now now, me personally, with the heliocentric model, with them telling us how bright the sun is and how far its rays travel, I would expect the shadow to look a little bit more something like this. You know, it looks a little too dark for me. When I said earlier, sometimes here, I'll just play it again here. Its crisp edges and dull or fade away, sometimes to the point where little to no shadow remains. Now they always give us that you know, that that picture of the solar system, and somehow like right here, and somehow they want us to believe that the shadow shrinks, okay, because basically the sun is so massive and it engulfs the earth, and then by the time it gets to the moon, it's a much smaller shadow. Of course, um when we're looking at the shadow of the moon on the earth and everything, it's small because the moon is small. And that's all there is to it. So in my experience, when I hold something in front of a light, the shadow projected behind it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So if the sun is really that bright and has the power to engulf the earth, then I would want to see or expect to see away this happening, where it's not really, where you can see a sort of a slight shadow, but not really, no real definition. And it should never really change color, because I mean, if a cloud is moving across you, okay, on a bright sunny day, you're not suddenly engulfed in red, and then as the shadow leaves you, you turn back to your normal color. So there's just a lot of discrepancies there. And now we're going to get into just the final portion, and that's the reflected light factor. And this was something that I thought of more recently, but I still added it in. Under the same light source, and that's reflected light. When another object under the same light source is in close proximity of the object in question, i.e. the moon, it should have light bouncing off of the earth and reflecting onto the moon. When another object under the same light source is in close proximity of the object in question, it should have light bouncing off and reflecting onto it. What I mean is this: the closer another object comes to the sphere, the brighter the light it's reflecting will appear. In the made-up heliocentric lie, they tell us that the moon is reflecting the light to the earth. But what about the bigger object, the earth? Does it reflect and bounce light to the moon? It should, but it doesn't. Because if it did, we would then have no new moon phase, and instead more of a dull moon phase or a dim moon phase. Meaning, as the moon wanes to darkness, it should then be illuminated by the earth. We should still be able to see the same face of the moon that we see every day, because the moon is always facing us. However, it should be dimmer and not luminous, because the earth should reflect its massive light towards the dark moon. Especially when the moon is further and closer to the earth on its supposed elliptical path, it should brighten and dim in its new moon phase. I repeat, speaking exclusively from new moon to new moon, the moon itself should still be visible on that new moon phase, transitioning from dim to slightly brighter, back to dim, as the moon moves in its elliptical orbit. Right. So that wasn't about the eclipse, but that was about the lunar cycles, the lunar phases, and how I personally believe that the moon has gone to nothing. We see pictures of the stars through the moon as it's growing, as it's waxing. And then we see as it's waning, we still have the remnants of the moon still there, but just not lit. And then when it goes to the new moon, it's nowhere to be found at all. I mean, you can't even see a shadow of a dark object blocking out stars, or you know what I mean? So yeah, that these are just all discrepancies that I have, and they help to further explain certain aspects. You know what I mean? If it's not a sphere, that this shadow is moving over, then is there something else causing it? Could it be Ketu? that invisible dark planet that the Vedics and a lot Hindus and many other religions talk about. Could it be the moon contracting on itself, you know, or could the source projection of the moon, of the holographic moon, be being impeded on? Say if you had a projector, a light projector, and you opened up the hatch and you put your finger in and you change the frame, you change the picture, you would see like that person's thumb or hand being cutting off the image on the wall that is projecting to, and then you would see the wall underneath it. So it could be a thing where this phenomenon is starting at the source of this projection of the moon, if the moon is a projection. I maintain that it is still a mystery. I've been to the north and to the south hemisphere, and the only difference that I've noticed in the moon is that it flipped. It didn't, you know, I wasn't seeing more of the face. I wasn't kind of seeing behind it a little bit more. It was just the same thing, just flipped. So I personally think it's a personal hologram, but I'm definitely open to expansion on that. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you guys.
Excuse me.
I think it's,
oh, go on, Lev.
I think it's like connected to your third eye or something like that, because like you say, if you can see it from the same face from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, then it wouldn't make sense in a physical kind of sense, would it? So it can only be kind of like you say, holographic, or like I think it's connected to your third eye and stuff. Maybe the sun is as well. And like you say about Rahu and Ketu, are they like, you know, just other spheres, like the stuff like that, but all just different types of whatever they are, kind of thing. But with those, I don't know whether fake CGI or not and stuff, but you get them videos where they're showing you like the little dark orbs near the sun and stuff like that. And for another eclipse video showing you other orbs near the sun and moon and stuff like that. So I kind of think, you know, I kind of think they're probably all connected in a way.
Yeah, and also often when there's a full eclipse, the shadow goes from left to right, and when the shadow comes back, it goes left to right. Yeah, it goes left to right, then it comes back the other way, comes back the opposite side. Left to right, it comes back left to right, but it goes off like to the top and it comes back on the left hand side and comes down to the bottom.
Yeah.
I've seen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's almost like it's circling
coming the wrong way.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, the ancients described it as like being rolled through the sky. It was rolled here, and when we look at these eclipses over time, you see that it is it's rolling across the sky, and whatever it is, if it's an object coming in front of it, or if the moon is just disappearing on its own, whatever it is, it's predictable, and it is something. If it's a shadow, then that planetary body is very, very, very massive, because that's the only way I could think of it appearing to come up and then leave going down. You know what I mean? Because if it's like my screen, it would be like coming up, and then it would appear to like come down because it's so massive. So yeah, I'm excited for more information.
And the fact it goes red. Yeah, I saw you picked up on that bit. Like this person, I think it was actually when I watched it, it was Daydreamers. He was doing one, and he was basically saying, like it is the moon, then it goes red. This is not a shadow. It's not a shadow we're watching here when it goes red.
Yeah, it must be something else, something, I would say almost like, spiritual happening, because I've never I've never seen a shadow go red in my whole life. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It goes blue. Like when I draw a shadow, it's more bluey. It's cooler. You have the warm light, and then say I was making a painting and it was like I used oranges for the sky and oranges on the trees and to make it look like a nice warm day. My shadows would be purpley blue. It'd be a cool color, the absence of the warm sun. So I'm wondering, how does a yellow sun create the redness? I know what they say. I know what science says. Of course, we all know what science says, but does it make sense? Does it hold water? Has a big thunder cloud ever turned your whole neighborhood red?
No, but there were also some other anomalies that were happening that people noticed, was that the light of the eclipse coming through the trees showed the eclipse on the ground through the trees.
Yeah, fraction. It was like a fractionalized. Yeah, that's interesting. You can
What
you
is all
can
that
poke
about?
What's that?
Sorry, what is all that about? Because it's almost like, we can see these half crescent moons, can't we, through the trees or through some sort of vegetation, whatever, that's filtering. It's just the weirdest phenomenon, and I'm thinking, what is it? Where does it come from? Well, we know it comes from the eclipse, but how is it formed? I mean, to reform that on Earth, that's a hard task, I do believe, just so strange.
It's very strange. It's I think it's akin to the old style cameras or the way that they used to put on theater shows. I don't know why, or light is very interesting. You could poke a hole in someone's wall and do like a production outside of the house and have it being produced inside of your wall. So it's like it fractionalizes, and it kind of shows us the nature of our fractal reality. One thing that I was playing with in my head is, if I can see the eclipses through every single point of light, if you could poke a hole in a piece of paper, and that's one safe way to watch the eclipse, is you just poke a hole in a paper and you look at the ground, and then you watch that whole thing happen on the ground right before your eyes without hurting your eyes. But the thing is that what I was playing with is, does the eclipse represent what's happening in the day? I mean, like, a lot of people say, oh, the eclipse is making little eclipses on the ground. But what if, never mind what's happening in the sky, just for a second. What if the daylight was actually just, doing that? And it is also affecting the moon and the sun. Do you know what I'm saying? Kind of like an opposite roles. Because there's this video, and I don't want to be long-winded, but there's this video that a person put out who showed us that the daylight is different than the sun. Has anybody seen that video?
Yeah, I understand, because obviously, being a flat earther, I hardly sleep, and I'm often up. I'm often up for the dawn, and it's just something that maybe I never even took notice of before. But of course, the light comes maybe for at least a couple of hours before the sun comes. They're definitely different things, and I mean, the light coming is amazing. And when you actually watch it from a high altitude balloon or anybody filming up there, the light almost looks like a mist coming in. It's almost like when they have horror movies and they've got Dracula coming and this sort of mist comes. That's what the light's like when it actually starts. It's almost as if there is gases, and the gases are working and causing. And a lot of people haven't realised as well that the light will only go up so far. It's us reflecting up, and it doesn't matter what it is. We're very reflective, whether it's water, clouds, land. And then the sun is in the black. It doesn't light the black up, does it? It doesn't make a great big sort of light bit around the black. that it's in. So yeah, the whole thing's just crazy. And I put one out as well about this guy who was filming a total eclipse. He went mad. He went absolutely mad because he was loving it. And you know, you can see that because he's up in an aeroplane, the way that the light goes, that these eclipses, or whatever you want to call them, when these things happen, they're local. It's happening locally because of the way that the light's going.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's, and you know, when we were talking about that video with the daylight and the sun, they were explaining it as like a regulator or a governor of where the brightest point of that daylight would be, and you know, it makes it able to track it. It's like, okay, it's the daytime, but where, you know, when is it noon? You know what I mean? And we look at the Bible, and it says that the Creator created a greater luminary and a lesser to rule the day and to rule the night. It's not saying that it was the day. It said that it created the first. It said the first night and the first day was the first day, or whatever. The morning and the night were the first day. And then it says it created a light to rule the day, to govern the day. And then it said,
right. So what it is everybody said, that's the sun. But what it is you're saying it's the light. It's just the light is the ruler of the day.
Yeah, and it kind of gives us a bearing point. You know, it gives us our days, it gives us our years. If we are able to track the sun, and you know, many ancient cultures, they build monuments to the equinoxes and the solstices, but you can't build an equinox or a solstice to the daylight. You know, that daylight is, it seems separate. You know, like you said, it's blue and the noble gases are emitted, the argon and the neon, and then a regulator, a governor, the sun, it comes in and it lets us know, you know, hey, it's high noon, or hey, I'm about to leave you, so you know, get ready to go to bed. Because when you're watching that video with the daylight is different than the sun, you see him hold a magnet over a tube of light, and you see it actually bend the light up towards the magnet, and it actually gets brighter. So I'm wondering if the sun is actually like kind of pulling it up, and as it moves along the sky, you know. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I do see your concept, because you know, I kept questioning myself, because they say that the moon is the ruler of the night, but it's not, because it's out half the time in the day, so it can't be. So I always thought that myself. Now it can't be, that can't be the ruler, you know, the ruler of the night. I think the stars are the ruler of the night, like the light is the ruler of the day, and the sun and the moon are in it.
Yes, that's what I'm kind of leaning towards as well. And just for everybody out there to understand what we're talking about, I brought up a video. So it says the electromagnetic field of the close passing sun is exciting these inert gases, and these gases, when excited, emit photons or light. So it's talking about the diffuse light, and it comes and it illuminates in different layers. And then deeper in the video, this is where it is. Yep, everybody can see it. Okay, this is where it is. The light curves because the field curves, it says. So let's look at this. He turns on the light. Now, these are made of gases, and he grabs a magnet. And this is incredible. Look at that. Wow. It also increases the brightness when interacting with the ionized field. Oh, and he pulls it down too. So we often talk about the sun and the moon as being, you know, electronic and magnetic and whatever, but whatever their properties, we are now seeing proof that it is able to bend light, electromagnetics, and govern the light. If we were looking at this as the sun moving, across the day, being a ruler and a governor, then we can kind of see where the scriptures say, you know, a greater luminary to rule the day. So that's just very interesting to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought about all those things, and now you're talking about them. You know, like even the way that the light shines, like the angles of the light when it's coming in, they're amazing. You just showed it on that video. Just the whole thing is absolutely incredible, and we just don't know nothing, do we? And I think the really sad thing is that instead of all this stupid stuff on SpaceX and that stupid car that we need to do actually is go to space in a car, what a shame we don't know more about what the light is. You know, and they haven't done, there's not lots of documentaries about the light coming in and what it all is and what you're doing here.
Right. Yeah. We have to take this. We have to take it deeper. We just have to keep on digging deeper and doing exactly what we're doing, because honestly, there's so many theories out there that when somebody says, you know, well, what do you think the sun is? I'm like, you know what? I have no clue what it is, but there are a lot of people out there with their own, you know, explanations. But I can't commit to what the sun or the moon is because I just don't know.
Yeah, especially when you see all those pictures from a P900 where it goes black or it's white. You know, like it's not even yellow, it's white.
Yeah.
Or black.
Yeah. And then you have the whole sun simulator thing and the sky lenses, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's so much. Like, it's like they put out so much crap because they knew, it's like almost like they knew we were gonna reach this information age, and it's like, hey, just overload them with information, you know?
Hey, Masterpiece, can I interrupt you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Slightly off subject, but that painting you have behind you, I love it, man. And I think that should be something to do with our website that we're with Mr. Thrive and Survive, you know, people for people. Yeah, exactly, because it's got faces of people and it's just something that I envision, you know. Boom, it's nice. I like that. Have you made that yourself?
No, I didn't make it myself. It was a gift that was given to me.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean, I do have the ability to recreate that, or you know,
yeah,
whatever. I'm always open to creating art, flat earth art, or just regular art. Anybody can email me at mastapiece9@gmail.com. I'll put my email in the link in the chat.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
I mean, I'm just trying to find his Enslaved by No Media. Have you heard of him?
Yes, I have. I don't know if I'm subscribed, but I know that name.
All that stuff where like he can zoom further into the sun at a certain fixed zoom than he can to this sign a mile away. And so basically he's saying that nothing is as far away as you say it is, not the aeroplanes, not the distances, nothing. So I mean, if you add all that in, it's like, oh my goodness gracious me. It's all just, it's crazy. And yet we as a people don't have all this as education. People like you and other people are having to work it out or trying to work it out and make your own videos rather than we know all this stuff. I mean, the light itself is absolutely amazing how it comes in the morning. I mean, on the camera, you can see different layers of colors and everything. I mean, maybe it's just the way the camera takes it, but we just don't know enough about this stuff. So was it just this eclipse that got you, or was it just that was the final one for you?
Well, yeah, it was like, well, you know, I questioned my reality. You know what I mean? I looked outside. Ever since becoming a flat earther, I would look outside and I would say, damn, like that moon is right there. I can't believe I thought it was 38
260,000 miles.
Yeah, 280,000 miles away. You know, it's always changing because the elliptical, but and I'm seeing clear formations with my naked eye. Like I'm seeing the man on the moon. And we all know that the further back you move, the further back an object moves from you, the more hazed out and blurry it gets. And I'll just share my screen for anybody that doesn't understand what I'm talking about. On a typical day, and especially in a day in the UK, you're gonna get a lot of fog, right? I've been there. Spent 3 weeks in England, and it was, I went to Dunstable. I stayed in Dunstable because the guy that I met out in West Canada, he was from Dunstable. We drove through Luton. I saw David Icke in London at Wembley. So I had a really nice time. That was back in my whole reptilian days. I'm growing, people. I'm growing. Yeah. So, anyways, the further back you move, the less detail it has, and I think that it's just that is a gift of nature, because you can instantly tell what is closer to you and what is further away from you. Like here, which cars are further to you and which ones are in the distance. And so, pardon me, had a little burp there. And so, when we look at the moon and we see the man on the moon, I just recently, after becoming a flat earther, I said to myself, oh, well, how am I seeing that so crispy clear, whether it's in the day or the nighttime? Like how can I make out these patterns? I'm going to share my screen of this moon.
So what you're trying to say is that if it was whatever, just call it a planet, because that is round, that there would be this sort of edging off thing going on because it's further away and rounding off. So everything would be different.
Yeah, and just the fact alone, like for example, I just showed you guys a picture of a street, right? And it gets hazed out. Now, this whole screen sharing thing is a little bit different this time around. Usually I could just go to stop screen share, but this time it's not letting me do that. Anyways, so I figured it out. So here is us looking across the valley, across our town, across our city, whatever, right? And that's how hazy we see it. And then we're looking at the moon, something that is supposed to be completely outside of the atmosphere. So the most atmospheric buildup would be between us and the moon, not between us and the other part of town. So if I can't even look at across my town, how am I looking up at the moon with my naked eye and seeing the man on the moon with crisp, clear edges? It should be, in my opinion, the moon, if it was really 280,000 kilometers away, it should be like very hazy. It should be like a blip of white. Like, is that? That is the moon there. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's about the size. Yeah.
Reality, we wouldn't be able to see it, would we?
Right.
We wouldn't be able to see that.
Not at all.
And this is what that guy with the camera's doing. The fact that he's saying everything is much more local. The planes aren't flying 7 miles up. They're only a few miles up. They're not traveling. He showed what a plane flying at 500 miles looks like. There's just no way these planes even... I asked when I was taking off last time how fast the plane was going. It wasn't the biggest plane. And they said 80 to 100 miles an hour. Now, the bigger planes are probably about 110, 120 miles an hour. But if you imagine you can get to 80 miles an hour in your car, that's not really that much faster, is it, to take an aeroplane off? So, yeah, the whole thing's crazy. And he's just saying that these are not as far away because for the same reason, you just wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah, and they tell us that when we're in a plane, I don't know if you know this, but they tell us that we're going like 800 to 900 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, he thinks it's all a lie.
Yeah, and the whole jet fuel hoax thing now.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? That obviously is. press there, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. Maybe what we should do, maybe the next flat Earth test should be bringing up like some sort of like odometer or like a height measurer on a phone and like seeing how high we're actually traveling. If that's possible.
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because
He's saying Google Maps will say what he's looking at is 16 miles away. Yeah, from where he's standing on Google Maps. But his camera's saying it's half the distance at least. And he said, look, these towers are only so many feet away from each other. Yet on the picture, they look like they're a couple of miles apart. Well, not a mile, but they look a distance apart. But they're not, they're only feet apart. So he's saying it's all lies. And the camera. So really, we want a P900 on a plane, don't we?
Yes, that is the next piece of equipment that I need.
Not pointing up and out, but pointing down.
Yeah.
For distance.
Yeah, that would make sense.
It's all quite crazy, isn't it? The whole thing is crazy.
Yeah, you just start to, after a while, you just start to say, you know what, I don't believe in anything anymore. You don't have, I no longer have beliefs. I just have notions in my head and ideas, but no firm ideologies or beliefs, because I feel like once I'll do that, I'll be made a fool, because just 10 years ago, nobody was talking about this at this level. So.
I do think we have these perspective bubbles, and everybody can only see so far. The higher you go up, the bubble gets bigger. But I have this thing, right? I was working. I am slightly in some hills, not very high hills, just some small hills. I go into work. The moon is there. I come out only an hour and a quarter, hour and a half later. The moon isn't there. I had to drive 7 miles till I could see it again. And yeah, it had gone. It was going over. I was coming over the top of the hills, and there it was in the valley below, now going across. So it had gone one direction, and now it almost was turning, and it was going another direction. But I had to drive 7 miles. If I had to drive 7 miles, how could someone 100 miles away see it? They couldn't.
Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting to say the least, because we were playing with the notion of the moon, like snaking in the sky. Like I was playing once in my head with the idea that the sun may be going up and down, or the moon may be going up and down, and then the other one going the other way, like this. Because the reason I say that is because the moon will look like this, like as big as my hand in the screen, and then a couple hours later, it's very, very small in the sky, and then we have the sun going up and down, controlling the heat and the wideness of its expanse. So it's just I'm playing with the fact that the sine wave is like a up and down wave, and we tie the sin to the shine, to the light, to the moon, snakes, dragons, all of these kind of serpentine things are equated with the moon and the sun. So I'm wondering if they're zigzagging on different axes as they circle above.
Well, I find it's absolutely amazing. Obviously, you're a young man compared to me, but I remember when I was younger that the moon was much smaller in the sky. There must have been days when it was bigger, but I remember as a kid looking up and thinking, "Oh, look how small that moon looks!" Right?
Hey, Karen, can
I
say something to interrupt you there? You just made me laugh. Actually, you were saying when I was younger and I was small, back in the day when we believed that you could go to the moon. It just popped in my head.
Yes.
It sounded so nice.
That's
Sorry.
when they were shoving Space 1999 down our throats and things like that, and UFO. Yeah, but now the moon is there, and it is so big in the sky when it comes up. When it appears, it doesn't even come up when it appears. It is so big sometimes. I mean, frightening. I feel like I'm in a horror movie. It's that big. It's like, what? It could fall out at you. And like you said, a couple of hours later, and it's this small thing going across.
Yeah, it's mysterious. I mean, maybe we're never meant to know. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I can't find any depictions of the ancients' writings that tell us exactly what it is. They're always speaking in terms of symbology and allegory. So maybe it's our fault. Maybe because we can't use both hemispheres at once to put it together to read the symbolic language that we used to write in.
Also, something else that's really annoyed me is now we know that the sun and the moon and the stars aren't very far away at all. Those observatories, those huge, great observatories, imagine what they can see lying to us every day.
Yeah. Somebody just said that they went to an observatory, and I said to them, I said, well, now at least we know how big a telescope has to be to see something not very far away, because when we're talking about those observatories, we're imagining we're seeing like back into like the creation of time, and we're looking back. We're just receiving the light from like billions of years ago. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, we're receiving.
You'd see a dinosaur if you could see out there.
There's a dinosaur planet. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, we're looking back to time because light is different. Like, it really is amazing what you will believe if the nature of your reality is, a lie. You know what I mean?
All that we've been getting told about this millions and billions of light years. I mean, how do they do the mathematics for this? These measurements. I mean, it's ludicrous, really. It's just that ain't science, is it?
No, it's theories.
That's made up bollocks, man. That's all it is.
Yeah, and you have these people that really study the crap out of this, and they pass university and they go into their field, and they're really genuinely believing that they need this equation and that equation in order to figure it out. But it's like you're building your whole inquiry off of a lie. Just drop the gravity thing altogether. You don't need gravity. You don't need dark matter to explain why things aren't moving at the speeds that you think they should be moving. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just funny how the human mind can, once you feed it a lie, the human mind can go off on that and make it real.
Because when I believed that these things were like the sun was 93 million miles away, in your mind, you're looking at it thinking, it's 93. And now I look at it and I think, you're just there. You're only just there. How I could believe it. It's terrible, isn't it? The mind control is disgusting. I'm sorry, because it's not even just about eclipses and the sun and the moon. It's about what we live on. It's about everything that goes on the television. It's about doctors. It's about medicine. It's about education. It's about us. It's about making sure we hate each other, breaking down communities. It just goes on and on. The language, history, pyramids. Oh, I could go on. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And to think that, our brains are filled with so much useless knowledge, I mean, I paid attention in class and, I did quite good. But if you ask me, what a quadratic equation is and, solve for X, I wouldn't be able to tell you. And I know it's in there somewhere, but if you would have just said, the sun is like 4,000 miles away, it's a point of light, it's bright and shiny, I would have done much better than to kind of, you wouldn't believe how many times I've tried to make sense of the moon and the sun being out at the same time, and the moon's reflection or its lit up area, it's looking like it's coming from the, the top. and the sun is over there below it, and I'm thinking like, and I'm really trying to make sense. I'm saying, well, it is 93 million miles away, so it's not really low, and it just a whole bunch of babbling in my head. So yeah, they fill
But
up
you
our.
have to do. You have to go and look at it a million times. It's still doing the same thing. Like, it's not 93 million miles away. No, you're not. Because, well, you just do, don't you? That's the waking up, isn't it? And it's even, well, it's really close. And I don't even understand how all this works, because at the same time, if you imagine the sun in the summer here, we get many more hours of light. And that sun could be in the sky for 14 hours going over UK or my head, while it's doing the same for Astral, Patricia. It's doing the same for people in other countries. It's just doing the same for everyone, spending hours going across that bit of your house.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's happening for everybody. That's happening for everybody.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, like somebody on the West Coast said, and it was like California. They were like, "Oh, the moon looks so pretty tonight," and it wasn't that late for me on the East Coast. Even it just had turned night, and I was looking at the moon, and it was like east for me. Like I was looking east at the moon, and someone in the West said, "Oh, what a beautiful moon tonight." I'm thinking like, how are you seeing that?
I was going to
Canada's a
say
big
something else. I was
Huh?
going to say something else to you more now, but in the UK we do struggle because of the clouds. We really do. But last year, January, both these times, because most people don't even realise that the sun has a couple of equinoxes a year, but the moon does it twice a month. When it hits Capricorn and Cancer, right, it'll only be maybe for an hour. Suddenly, the moon drags the stars with it. The moon will come in and then it will start coming north a bit. That's when I watched it, January. So that time of the season, the year, the whole thing. And for an hour, it pulled all the stars with it. Then it dropped them off almost. And then it carried on going west. It was going faster than some of the stars. I watched it twice. If I caught this on a camera, it would have meant nothing, because I needed to see the whole sky to show you that at this one point, the moon I saw it twice. The moon moves the stars. Everybody doesn't have to take my word for it, but if everybody can go out in the night and start looking on the equinoxes, your equinox, wherever you are with the moon, twice a month, hopefully you've got a clear sky, you can see the stars, you will see that the moon comes north a bit and drags the stars. Other times of the year, maybe it's going the other way. We're talking about January, so I'm in the winter. So everything to go summer needs to go north. And then when it gets to winter, everything goes south. The sun comes up very north in the winter, and in the summer, and in the winter it comes up south. So of course, this is January, so it's starting to move things back up north to come through the seasons to go to the summer. I saw it twice, but of course, we've basically been in cloud since. We hardly ever get a sunny, it's cloudy now.
Right. Yeah. You can't. It's hard to get a clear look from over there. Yeah. Yeah. The moon was always described as having a party with it. A lot of guests with it, following it. And if you look at the bride, when the bride is getting married, she has her bridal, her girls. What do you call those?
Oh, do you know something? It's a bit of a shame that Jay's not here. He'd love this because he'd say dancers.
Do you mean like the
'Cause he's
maid
doing
of
the whole
honor
thing.
or the
The
bride?
the maid, yeah, the
bridesmaids.
yeah, the bridesmaids. Yeah, they travel with their bridesmaids, and she has a long gown that tails behind her,
Trained.
and it's symbolic of the moon carrying the stars with her. I'm leaning towards the fact that the moon may be like a kind of like a disco ball in a sense that it projects the stars out from it. But I can't be sure. It's tough to say. But I know that the stars and the moon go hand in hand. You always see the moon and the star. You know, whether you're looking at the flags, the Islamic culture. When you look at like old nursery rhymes, you always see the moon and the little stars, and they're all playing together. Yeah,
Hey,
you know.
can I interrupt you there,
Yeah.
Master?
Yeah.
Right. I've just got a book from the library that I'd ordered for a long time. Anyway, it just turned up. Funnily enough, it's from America. I can't figure that out. I really can't, you know. I'm here in Denmark. I've ordered a book from my local library, and I can see from the Illinois State University Library. And I'm like, what? And it needs to be returned back to them. This is incredible, you know. I mean, all right. Yeah, forget about that, right? But anyway, it's the zodiac and the salts of salvation. And what you was talking about there with the moon and the planets and everything, in the beginning of that book, there's a poem. And I'm not, yeah, trust me, I didn't read the whole poem, but I started to read it, you know, and then I realized, oh, it's very nice. It's about the planets and how the movements and, you know, it's a symmetry, right? I didn't read the whole poem. So that's where I'm damned now, because if I would have done it, would have been very nice to show you. I've not got the book with me at the moment. I'm not out. These are new lips. I'm sorry. I'm just breaking them in. I do not have the book with me right now. I'm not at home. But when I get home, if we can continue this hangout for a good time, Karen, we love you. And we love you, Patricia. Lev, I can't get a word in edgeways, brother, you know, sometimes. And you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you know. I don't want to take up the whole show or anything, but yeah, this book and this poem, I will read and recite it, because it's all about the power that the moon has over other planets and things, you know, and they're all following a dance, they're all following a symmetry, and I think it's I don't know, I think it's of relevance right now, just what you're talking about. So anyway, Master P, please carry on.
No. I was done, and you're never interrupting. It's an open conversation, and I'd like to hear that poem, because I think we have to start looking at the art again. You know, we have to start looking at the symbology in the art, because remember, back in the Renaissance, the paintings were television. Those were the movies. You know, you would when Michelangelo would unveil like a biblical allegory scene. Say it was like in the manger or something like that. The whole town, people would travel far and wide to look at the painting just for hours. Stay in town for a couple days, check out the other art around it. But they would want to see the newest, latest painting, and they would, and it would come alive in front of them because of the detail was so real. It would just, and the colors were so vibrant, it would jump out at you. So we have to look at the poetry and look at the ancient dances and ancient paintings and sculptures to really try to put this together, because if we believe we're being deceived now, then we have to go to a time that stood outside of that deception, if there was any.
You know what, right now I really wish Jay was here, because Jay, if you've seen Jay, he's into ballet, he's a dance teacher, and he's realized that astrology, everything, language, the planet, the sun, everything is all put into ballet. Is another way of, like, astrology is explaining it that way, ballet is actually explaining it, and he's just doing a thesis on the planets and the stars, all talking with the waves and everything in ballet right now. This is he needs to do this to qualify, but he's doing his own thing with the students, just what you're talking about.
Wow. Beautiful.
And that's art.
Art is life. And then a scientist will say, well, science is life. Literally, it's science is life. But no, I mean, if we were created, then we are art pieces. Yeah, the paint might, you know, when I mix red with a yellow, chemical things are happening. I get it. It's chemistry. It's cool. But it's art. you know, we are art. You know, we were created in an image and a consciousness, and we have balance, and we have Fibonacci all through us. So, you know, we are art, and we have to treat each other and appreciate each other as such.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah, I reckon that when Jay hears this, he'll wish that he was on the panel.
Send him a link, Karen.
I have. He's teaching. He's teaching till a certain time, so I can't. You know, he's working. I'll send him one again.
Yeah, but we can just, you know, carry on the chat. It seems quite nice at the minute. It's delving. That's what we like to hear, you know, a bit of delving, getting into. We was actually talking the other day. I can't remember who it was who was speaking. It was about pictures and well, words especially, but pictures and paintings. And nowadays, I think it was Aaron Kreischick, yeah, from Project Lumen, and he was talking about. Oh, now I've lost my link totally. What I was going to say. Jesus, I've lost my link. I'm overthinking.
Yes, it's so deep though, isn't it? And we're always thinking.
Come to me.
And then you thought again, and it dinged out your brain.
Yeah, I mean,
too much
totally zonked, you know. I fucking hell. Oh yeah, it was to do with the art, right, and the dances. That was it. Because you look at paintings, and when you see a painting, you can feel the movement in it. If it's someone that's stood still, this is like, now I'm talking about art, right? I mean, I'm an artist, or I consider myself an artist. I might be shit, I don't know. I'm not judged, and I judge not myself, like, you know. I like art. It's basically that. So when you look at art, or I do, I can see if there's like sorrow in the painting, or if there's like joy or happiness, or if there's, you know, movement. You know, you can see these things. I mean, and it's true. When you stand in front of a painting and you look at it, you need to look at it, like absorb it, see all the aspects, shading. Where was the sun, and where was the moon, or what was, you know, it's like what was conveyed, and you can get so much out of it. I mean, and I love looking at paintings just for the intrigue, because time over time, it doesn't matter how many times you look at the painting, you can interpret it in 1,000 ways, you know, or in just 2 ways, depending on your outlook, you know, how much you want to delve into things. Do you know what I mean? So I think art is important, and that's just looking at a painting. And then when you've got the words, like we said, poetry, this poem I want to find later, that has got truth in it. There's a lot of poems that have got a lot of hidden truths in them, you know. Instead of rather just writing what they wanted to say, they had to disguise it within poetry, you know. So I think a lot of, you know, now I'm getting a little bit conspiracy theorist to do with like poetry and, you know, what was said about this subject or that subject, you know. But anyway, about the stars, how the moon pulled the stars, and it was telling a story of how the astrology, you know, how the ecliptic works. About the head is the ram, Aries is the ram, and so on, you know. I need to finish it. So that's all I'm going to say for now. Sorry.
No, it's true. One thing that you almost touched on is that when I create a painting, sometimes somebody sees something that I didn't. You know, sometimes they say, "Oh, well, this is, you know, is this what you're trying to say?" And I'm like, "Whoa, that was really deep." You know, it's just a teddy bear. And they're like, "Oh, it's like, you know, when it represents when you were like a kid and adolescence." I'm like, "Okay, well, all right." But what I'm saying is, what it does is it shows you who where they are. You know, the art, when you interpret art, it shows it's not you breaking down the painting. The painting is bringing everything out of you, your whole consciousness and what you're made of. If you pull a story up that is very intricate and deep, well, you're probably a deep thinker. You know, it reveals, the painting reveals what's inside of a person. That's how I wanted to say it. A piece of art should connect to the viewer and bring out who they really are inside. And I think it's beautiful when I listen to people's different interpretations. I say, wow, you know, that was very deep. You know, I never thought about it that way. And it's my own art. So yeah, the poetry is the same way. If you could read a poem and connect to it and find a truth in it, well, you're really, you know, just assessing your own capacity of consciousness and awareness. And so it's beautiful.
The one thing I do notice as well is that, especially we've got, like, we know someone, James, in New Zealand, who's talking about the fact that they're selling fear to make money. But the more you understand about languages, the more articulate everybody's becoming about the words they're using. And like, we were on with Daydreamers the other day, and I was just sort of just yapping away, and he picked up on a couple of words because he's looked into languages, and we're spellbinding all the time because we don't even know the words we're using. And yeah, I just thought that was interesting as well. Like, yeah, I hope I've made sense there.
Yeah. And with that, I feel that we have to really come together to kind of redefine ourselves. You know, we're told that we're humans, we're Homo rectus, or I don't even know, Homo sapien, and all these crazy terms just to simply describe the fact that we're individual sentient beings. You know what I mean? And we are here on this earth, and we are cohabiting the earth with different sentient beings, and we call them pigs and cows and monkeys and stuff like that. Maybe it makes it easier to kill and eat, but when we realize that not every human was thought of as human before, you know, they would say, oh, you're subhuman, you're 3/5 of a person, you're you're a slave. And all the while they're treating, you know, their dog like their best friend. So then the whole civil rights thing came in. So we're at a point now where we are accepting other people's definitions, and we don't even realize that we are inflicting the same injustices onto other sentient beings that we once were doing to each other, simply because we've defined it or taken the language. You know, beast, a dog, a mutt, a scoundrel. You know what I mean? All these things. But really, like, a dog is a dog, and a pig is a pig, and a cow is a cow, and we're all sentient earthlings. So, you know, we really got to change how we define our reality, really.
Yeah, you know, one that keeps coming up for me is a little bit different, but like, they put us in apartments. I mean, so basically, I don't think
Apartments or compartments?
yeah, see, what it is we built our own prisons, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that they always want to give you a name. You've got to be categorized. You need to belong to a box. You belong in this box, or you belong in this box. You know, you're one of them. You're in this box. Everything needs to be categorized, but it's not like that, because we are all, like you said, sentient beings. You know, we're all humans. That's all we are. We are humans, or not all we are. We are all, right?
Yeah, we are all.
I
like
forgotten
that. And, you know, if I was to sit you down and give you red and yellow and tell you go paint, you're gonna produce a painting that is light red, dark red, yellow, orange, and all the warm colors. But as soon as I give you the blue, everything opens up. You can create greens now, and purples and aquas and beautiful colors, just because of that one addition of that one other primary color. Now, if we translate that to life, if we're given a dictionary, which, by the way, words are being removed from dictionaries and added. Like, for example, hangry just got added to the dictionary, which means you're angry because you're hungry. So that is now an official Webster's dictionary word, but they've removed many old time words that they used to use. You know, when you read books from the old days, there's a lot of words, and you say, you know, what word is that? Or I've never heard it used like that before. And then if you look at the old dictionaries, I have a old fat dictionary with like the gold leaf pages. If we use that big dictionary at one time to describe our reality and to express ourselves, and now say it's half that size, well, we have just cut in half our capacity to know how we're feeling, you know, what we want to feel, what we felt. And as soon as we do that, we limit our vocabulary, our ways to express ourselves, then we are literally limiting our reality.
Yeah, they've so subtly done it, though, haven't they? For instance, like just the two I remember more than any. If you're Santos or someone like that, there are heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of words. But like anarchist just means freedom, and they've labelled it that if you're an anarchist is a bad person, and the other one is like crystals. They labelled that onto hippies. So hippies, you don't want to get into crystals because that's it. Do you see how they've subtly manipulated everything?
Yep. Yeah, they have. It's a tragedy. It's a travesty. Really.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's true what you say. They're changing the words slowly but surely, you know, and these new words are creeping in, and because of it, they're shaping society, you know. So it's another form of programming in a sense, but not just, is it programming? It's like direct consequence.
It's got to be, though, hasn't it, Astral? They tried to make everybody believe the sun is 93 million miles away and we're on a ball spinning through space.
Yeah, and the Elon Musk has got this Tesla that can fly through the
Oh, that's hilarious.
What is it? It's so fake, it's real.
Oh, the guy, I mean, he's just like I said to Aaron the other day. Is he on ayahuasca to believe that shit? You know, I mean, God, you've got to be hallucinating big time if you think that is true. You know, and that it's really happening and really flying. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like there's that I'm sure you guys know about the cave allegory, Plato's allegory of the cave. And that's basically, you know, what we're looking around and we're thinking that this is it. And once somebody tells us, hey, you know, it's really not like this. The sun is literally right there, you know, then you're looking at them like they're crazy. Now, when I realized that the sun was just above our heads, I don't know about you guys, but I felt like a overwhelming joy and sense of like protect. I felt safe. You know what I mean? I felt like, oh, the sun is right there. I could jump and touch it. You know what I mean? And I don't know. How, did you guys remember feeling anything different once you realized it was local?
I just, I actually go, oh my God, in my brain. I go, oh my God, all the time. Oh my God. Because everything you believe, you just, even the other day we were just talking about something. Of course that's wrong as well, isn't it? And he's just like, everything. It's not even just one or two things here, is it? It's everything. But the sun, I spent a long time looking at that last year myself. Suddenly, you know, when you get into this, you start watching how the moon comes up, where the moon is. You start watching everything differently, don't you? Hence, you taking videos of eclipses.
Right, yeah. Once our eyes are open, you just start looking at everything differently. Just like I said, once you're given that blue color, everything else starts opening up. You start connecting dots you've never connected before. And you know, when I was young, and I would see people draw that like a crescent moon with the face in it. You know how like on your hands and soap, or like on a picture, you'll see like that crescent moon with the face. I always said to myself, well, if the and I know this is obscure for a child to think this, but I would always think, okay, well, if the man on the moon, the face that we see in the full moon, if that's the moon's face, then how does it still have a face when it's a crescent? And why is it now like oriented to the side? And like, shouldn't the moon still have a body? You know what I mean? Like, why is all these questions happened when came to me when I was a kid, but now that I think about it, that depiction of the crescent moon with the face to the side, it's pretty accurate, because we've seen pictures with the crescent moon and the stars through it. So that let me know that it's not just the light, it's that's all that is literally left of the moon, is that crescent.
Yeah, and this programming thing is it's just incredible what they've done. I think with these P900 cameras coming in, do you think it's made things worse? Like they've got to be even worse with their lies?
I think we've kind of we've spawned these lies. Yeah. When you look at like the NASA channels, they've just been ramping up production and misinformation because of us. Like I don't know if people know how much of an impact that we're making, but we are definitely. I mean, we're changing commercials here. Like Shaw Television or Bell Television or telephone. They'll have these commercials, or Taco Bell. Now Taco Bell is going to space. Taco Bell, there's like I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's like a new commercial, and it's like Taco Bell's like going to space, and it's like, get your lunar crunch combo or something. It's like, what, are you serious? Like, it's totally irrelevant to the food or to the message, period, but they have to plug that in there. They have to keep the brainwashing going. So I think that our P900s are actually spawning the.
I need to interrupt you. It was something on Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer's show. I'm not sure whose, but about the numbers, and it's still like 18 million, hits and stuff for Flat Earth. So it's increasing, it is increasing. I don't know how he looks at the numbers or where he gets his figures from, but if we're to believe it anyway, I'm happy. I'm happy that it's like 18 million, videos, whatever. But I mean, it's the important thing is that Flat Earth is being investigated and being looked at, and it's going to go exponential. And when it goes, it's just good for us. For everybody, for mankind, that's what I mean. For humankind.
You're right. It is.
It's a bit of a shame, really. We can't do it this way. That basically what you say is turn the television off for a month and see if your life changes. Because once the television gets turned off, people start thinking then. Not everyone, but a lot of people will start thinking differently.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, turn the radio off, the news radio, the talk radio. Like people. I don't understand why people want to watch the news. They say, oh, so I can be updated and stay up to date, and so when I get to work, there's something to talk about. But even if you were to just mute the TV while you're watching the news, you'd get a completely different story, and you'd actually get to hear yourself think, and you would think to yourself, man, there's a lot of violence. You know what I mean? There's a lot of violence on this earth, and where is it coming from? Why is this allowed to happen? So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and every 15 minutes they like repeating it.
Yeah.
Fear factory, that's what it is. Look at this, look at this, look what we're doing. Look at people getting beaten up, look at them getting water hosed and whatever, pushed back and held, I mean, it's just catastrophe upon disaster upon a catastrophe, isn't it? But it's kind of, they make this shit happen. In essence, in the bottom, deep within us, we are good people. We're all good people. We don't want to go to war with anyone else. do we? It's only because someone tells us, hey, you're on my team, whatever, we're going to, whatever, against the neighbours. It's like that, isn't it? My territory, let's get some more.
Right.
Greed. It's about greed. Who's got more money? Who's got more power? Because we were just forced into this shit. This is not our life. This is not what we're entitled to.
Originally, maybe in the 80s when I was growing up, we were told that these wars and, all the soldiers fighting and all this, and now it's one dirty great lie. Why we were fighting the whole thing, it's all a game.
Yeah, to make a few people rich, and they're still eating off of that war money. And what I was gonna say is, while we're watching the news and the violence, we then cut to commercial. Well, I know that you guys don't have a lot of commercials over there. Your TV's pretty good, but over here we just, we have so many commercials.
Don't get as many.
No, you guys are great. Like, if you have an hour show, it plays the show, and then there's commercials, and then another show starts. But here, it's like, it's getting intense, and then boom, commercial, gotta wait, and then you go back into the movie. You come back a little late, you miss the part of it. It's ridiculous. But also in England, you need like a license to watch TV, right? Like, you need like to pay for a little thing to be able to even have the TV, right?
Yeah, we have to pay a license, but that's not really very much money. It's a few £100.
Hey, also here in Denmark. Hey, Christian, how much is a TV license, brother?
Around 2,000 a year.
He says it's around 2,000 a year. That's 2,000 kroner, which equates to approximately, £200 for a TV license.
Wow.
I'm not sure.
But if you want Sky or anything like that, your package is probably going to be another £50 a month.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, so that's just the basic TV license. Yeah, true. £200 just for the basic TV license. I mean, I don't pay it. I won't pay it. I refuse to pay it. But they just send me a bill and it goes through my taxes. Hopefully one day I can get all that, retroactively to, put back in my bank account.
Yeah,
thieving bastards.
Yeah. It's so that's just something that's different, I guess. But in between the violent news, 50 people dead, 2 shot, and then it goes to commercial, and we see a commercial about steak, and then the next one is cheese, and the next one is milk, and it's just, well, how do you get that? You have to kill an animal. So it's just like we go from tragedies of human tragedies, and then we think, oh man, this world's such a violent place, and then we look at what we're eating, and we say, oh yeah, maybe there's a little bit of animosity caused from the food that I eat. Maybe the food I eat isn't as peaceful as it could be. So you are what you eat, and we have to also take responsibility in that. Like, I think for a truth seeker and for someone that's compassionate and empathetic, then they've already switched to a plant-based diet. But like, we can't do to others as we wouldn't like to have done unto us. Not us. We're truth seekers. You know what I mean? We are more advanced. We are leaders. We're the shepherds. So I just wanted to leave that. I wanted to put that out there because the UK actually has the fastest growing vegan movement. You guys have actually have like a 500% increase in like 10 years. So
that's incredible, that.
Yeah, kudos to you guys. You guys are really awake out there. A lot of people in the UK are doing like live videos on the street, just waking people up every day about the inhumaneness of grass-fed and free range and any kind of animal husbandry. So yeah, kudos to you guys, UK. You guys are really awake.
Great. I'm surprised they're allowing us to do it though, with all the rules and regs that everybody's under, isn't it? A group of 4 people now is deemed illegal when you're outside or something. You're not allowed to be
4 people is what?
Whoa.
You're not allowed to be a group of people out in public anymore. It's deemed like a riot or something, isn't it?
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Wow,
That's
is that
ridiculous.
not here, but
Yeah.
that's maybe over there. That's nuts.
Maybe
See?
a few more people, but you're not allowed to be a group of people outside anymore.
That's basically your freedom gone. I mean, if you can't be with 15 people, like-minded people, then
Yeah, I mean, some people have got quite a few friends, you know, and let's say on a summer day you're walking through town. Before you know it, you know, you're 6 guys at least.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Very easily happens that. Very easily. So I mean, yeah, then you're buggered, aren't you? No, we're losing it, man. Society is slowly disintegrating from, you know, our reality. It is. It's just being taken away from us.
Yeah.
How many are you? 4. Yes. Well, one of you needs to leave. You know.
Yeah.
What? I'm
or
not going to
stop
say it
believing.
again. One of you needs to leave. Otherwise, I'm arresting all 4 of you.
Yeah.
It's fucking 1984, isn't it? Wow, I mean, did they write the book and then that becomes reality? I mean, fucking hell, it really is getting to be like that with the cameras and the, you know, the just the way that the police are. And I'm not that I've any qualms with the police. I haven't, you know, I mean, they do the job. There are righteous police that do their job, but we're just getting into a society where all these statutes, you know, rule over actual law, you know, and it's more like the police, they're not policing, they're doing more like getting money out of people, you know, for fines. You're driving too fast, or you shouldn't be parked there, or, you know, you didn't blink then, or whatever, you know. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, it's getting out of hand.
Just about
That's what I
though,
think.
it's all about controlling us, the whole thing. Medication, television.
Right. It's slowly, you know, it's foot by foot, toe by toe, finger by finger. It's just they're slowly encroaching on our frequency and our freedom, and they're taking
And all hiding truth,
yeah.
like you've done, like you're showing us about the eclipse. So things like that aren't talked about. The truth, what's like really going on that we can't quite work out yet, but all these anomalies, and we're definitely not a spinning thing going anywhere.
That's just, it seems so asinine to me now that, like, when you just say it like that, like, I'm so outside of the belief that it's a globe that, you know, when you say we're not spinning or going anywhere, I'm like, yeah, obviously not. Like, it's so crazy that just 3-4 years ago, I would have argued you to the teeth about it. I would have brought in all the science and the theories, but it just none of it matters. None of it matters anymore.
Yeah, that's what happens usually, is when you wake up, you actually, everything else becomes more important. Other things become more important.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't go out so much anymore, because out there, most of them still believe the lies, and I just can't. I had to come and talk to you lot.
Yeah. I have to start, like, doing, like, some passive forms of getting it out there. Like, I gotta start, like, wearing shirts that say, like, you know, do you really believe we went to the moon and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Just to spark up the conversation wherever I go, and let the people come to me.
Yeah, I think when you feel more sure of yourself and stuff, it's easier for that, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, it takes a type of personality. Like, I'll just pack up tomorrow with all my paints, and I'll go to, like, the east part of Canada or a different country and just survive off my paintings. And not everybody in my family could do that. They said, "Oh my God, like, you're so brave. How did you do that? Like, you know, weren't you were unsure about where you're gonna live? How did you eat?" And I just say, you know, you just take it day by day by day, you know. But the more I look back on it, the more I realize that, like, yeah, it does take a certain type of person to not mind being approached and challenged on the spot and have their beliefs tested, and you know what I mean. And not everybody can do that. So if you can out there, if you feel like you're a person that can talk to a lot of people or like engaging, then a good idea might be to order a shirt or make a shirt and with like a little bit of teaser about your beliefs, you know, like is the earth flat, is the
Maybe that should be the experiment, is that everybody wear a flat earth t-shirt.
yeah, that's a good one.
Just everybody, you know, wear a t-shirt out that's got flat earth on it.
Yeah, that's
You know,
good.
it was like me earlier with the lady in the shop when I said that the earth is flat. She needs to research the earth being flat. Like she goes, oh, I know that, you know, but I said it loud enough that other people could hear, you know, and it's things like that will get them thinking, oh, I'll have a look at that, you know, I'm a bit bored. Because I said to her, if you're bored, research flat earth. You know.
Yeah, he was expecting to get a barrage, and she just said, yeah, it is. So that was good.
Yeah, someone that we know came up to my wife the other day, and they were like, hey, quick question, the earth flat or round? And then my wife said flat, and then he's like, yes, you know, he's very excited, but he didn't, if you looked at his face, he didn't expect her to know that, you know. And when he did, he was very, very happy, you know. And that makes you realize, you know, when you're on the subway or the bus, how many people are you passing by that know this truth as well, you know what I mean? A good way is to make a t-shirt, and then they'll come up to you.
Yeah, you can. I think you could probably design your own t-shirt. There are places where you can design your own t-shirt, and there are places you can buy them. Maybe that's what we need to do. Everybody's a flat earther. Wear a flat earth t-shirt and go out. Do it for a day.
Idea, you know, or carry something that says flat earth on it, you know, or whatever. I mean,
Yeah, I used to read
an AE map.
yeah,
Enough.
I used to carry my book around, Zetetic Astronomy, Earth is not a globe, and just leave the title out, you know, and people on the bus would just say, hey, you know, what's that book about? But, you know, you can make your own t-shirt.
You know, listen, brother, you've just given me a good idea because, and I have done it, but I mean, I don't know how many people have seen it. I should be even more, you know, obvious. But I have those books on my iPad, you know, the Zetetic Astronomy and the Earth is not a globe and 200 proofs and blah, blah, you know, and other things. Always, you can always do that, you know, and it's kind of bright, isn't it? And people can't help but be nosy, if you know what I mean. So, but in a good way, you can just kind of let them see what you're reading, you know.
Yeah. And some people will talk, some people won't, and for the people that won't, they either say, oh my god, that's so ridiculous, or they might say, that's interesting. Or they might say, hey, somebody else was just talking about that the other day. Now I'm going to look into it. So it's always a good way to, you know, to break that ice or to just get people thinking. And you don't need to buy a t-shirt. You can just, you know, get out an old t-shirt, an old gray t-shirt, and get some black or white paint and just paint it, you know, acrylic paint.
Laundry marker.
Yeah, laundry marker. That's perfect. And just say, you know, the earth is flat. Now what? Or earth is not a globe. You know what I mean? Just anything you guys can do, it's going to help. You know, anything you can do, it's going to help.
Yeah. I think we should. I think we really should.
Yeah.
Write it inside books and stuff. Like return books to charity shops.
Yeah, I have been known to write it on a few of the notes over here. Bank notes.
Yeah. That's a really great way. It's harder to write on notes these days, isn't it? Because they're changing into this plastic crap.
Yeah, but there's plenty of markers that, you know, I mean, Yeah, okay, take your pick. I shouldn't propagate that kind of behavior. It's
What,
it's
defacing
not allowed, is
defacing
it?
currency?
Defacing currency. Is it allowed or isn't it?
Yeah,
Well, I
But
but
didn't
maybe
have a piece of paper. I was testing out my pen.
that's another reason why they turned it plastic, so we couldn't write on it.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
Maybe that plastic's got something within the plastic, that it isn't very good for us. Put it in a microwave and see how it reacts, please.
Yeah.
Give it 30 seconds. See how
It'll
it reacts.
be like that cheese; it won't melt.
I'll reimburse you. I promise. Do an experiment. It could be fun. It's funny watching a CD in a microwave. That's kind of awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it would be nice to see how money reacts. Also, I was thinking about my passport, like how that would react because it's got a chip in it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Biometric, See if it'll. Or some shit.
I've thrown away my microwave. Couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I don't use it. It's not for me to use. But we have one.
Yeah, very, very unsafe. I just steam food now. So I just have like a double boiler, and if you put like a half an inch of water in it, then it boils very fast. And evaporation, it expands, right? So
Yeah.
you need a very little bit of liquid to get a lot of steam. And
they're nice as well, and their vegetables taste so nice. I know I've got a steamer. Or I had a steamer.
the thing is that like I wouldn't recommend like a steamer, but like a kind of like a double boiler, like a pot with another pot on top with the holes in it, and then just put all your leftovers. Put your rice, your potatoes, and your your cabbage and your lentils and whatever. Just put it all in there, and the steam will rehydrate the food. I mean, when you pull it out of a microwave, like it's dry, it's hard, but when you steam it to reheat food, y'all, oh my God, it's like you're eating it for the first time. Like as soon as it was done being made, it's hydrated, it's flavorful, really nice.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so that's a tip for everybody out there.
Anyway, Robert Forsey comes on our panel quite often. He fed his plant microwaved water and it killed it. Oh dear, that's not good, is it?
Wow, that is remarkable. Yeah, I mean, I guess it just changes it breaks down the molecular structure into an unrecognizable form, so that when it enters your body or the plant, it doesn't know what to do with it. It's a free radical, isn't it? So, yeah, it just sucks the life out of water. I saw a little girl try to grow an organic potato in tap water, like distilled water and like microwaved water, and the microwave water had nothing. Like the potato just shriveled up and died basically. The microwave, guys, got to get it out of the household, especially if you're pregnant. Especially if you're pregnant, please do not stand in front of the microwave.
Yeah, see what they're doing to us. And yeah, it changes all the food and everything, doesn't it? So really, you can't eat microwave food. And
No,
they've turned us into a microwave society, haven't they?
yeah, yep.
That's
Microwaves are being emitted through everything, TVs and Sorry, Levkungfu, you're about to say something?
It was Masta that invented the microwave as well, wasn't it?
Yep, and it was what we have as a microwave was just a consumer form of the weapon that they made, because they made it as a weapon to project to the enemies, but in the process of their target dying, they realized that it also cooked in the first couple of minutes, and so they scaled it down for consumer use and lowered the output capacity, just so that you could warm up and cook foods. And I don't know if you guys know this, but like when I was young, we had a microwave. It was like from like the 70s or 80s, and it was huge. It was like a dinner microwave, and it came with a book of all the meals that you can make in the microwave: turkeys, chickens, roast, potatoes, in the microwave. So I actually did cook up a couple meals like that when I was a kid, not knowing the damage that it has done to my body and that I probably still haven't repaired from, probably never will. But yeah, it was definitely a weapon first.
There are stories about people that have had a microwave for a long time and it's become kind of malfunctional, or the seals broke on it and stuff. And then it started to cook them whilst they've been stood next to the microwave, whilst the food's cooking and stuff. So
Oh,
or parts
oh.
of the rear and the arm and stuff, that kind of thing. Not like a full person like, but
That's just terrible, isn't it? They
We could-
don't care, do they? Sorry, Master, but peace. They don't care about us, though, do they? Anyway,
No,
go
well,
for
yeah,
it.
that's what I was actually gonna say, is that all we have to do is just care. Like, if you care for yourself, I mean, really, you know, you won't you'll look into these things. Like when I say, "Oh, we got to get the microwave out of the house," and then the first reaction was, "No, no way, we can't do that." Instead of asking, why? What's the science? That's that's caring. Where did this piece of cloth come from? Were they being paid fair to pick this chocolate? Just care. If you just care a little bit, have some compassion, the whole world will be a better place. But you'll feel it first because you're the one that's doing the caring. So yeah, just
It's in every walk, though, isn't it? Even walking, they've got us in plastic shoes, which they cannot connect with the negative ions in the ground we need. But they've got us wearing plastic. They're messing around with the water. They're messing around with the air. They're messing around with our food.
yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yep. They're removing us from the nature and from the source so that we don't care about it. And, the sun being 93 million miles away, that's another way to put space and distance in between you and that creative essence. When I thought that the sun was 93 million miles away and that nothing could ever get there because it's too hot and too far away, it just kind of, I just didn't even care about it anymore. I was like, oh well, fuck the sun. I don't give a fuck about the sun. Like, it's not on my mind. But now that I know it's there, it's like all I can think about. Like, is the sun coming yet? Is the sun coming yet? Oh, there it comes. Oh, there it goes. There's the sun going. Oh, it's changing size.
You see, you go, there's the sun. There it is. It's that place in the sky. I can already see, because I was up really late this morning, that the light is beginning to move around the sky again now, because we're March, we're going into spring. Yeah, I'm the same as you. Oh, you said that you felt that the moon was a hologram. So what do you make of the sun then?
I also think that it is a it's a condensed light. I think that it is being projected, almost as if you were to hold up a magnifying glass and burn an ant. That like,
Yeah, I've thought of that before myself. It's like coming through a
yeah,
magnifying glass. And the magnifying glass is round and we have a circle of light, don't we?
yeah, and we have the firmament dome, and so I mean, like, maybe it's very tough because, but like when you hold a magnifying glass, you see the brightness, the reflection. You see like a bright spot on the ground, and then you see the magnified spot in the middle of that. If we equate that to daylight, well, maybe the daylight is that bright reflection, and then the sun is the accumulated point of that light, all originating from beyond the dome. I don't know. I don't want to say what it is or what it isn't, but I do feel like it is personal. I feel like it is just an outward expression of what's happening on the inside in the unseen. And I also am, the more I watch these videos, the more I'm inclined to think that it may be sprouting from something underneath, subterranean. But I don't know. It's tough. What are you guys? What are your thoughts on the sun?
Well, it kind of makes sense in a sense because everything they're doing, it has to be the opposite. Okay, on that one, I do kind of agree because everything's out there, but it's not. Everything is here. So yeah, it would kind of make sense, and the fact that it's not, if you're looking at the P900 users, the sun is literally like a couple of miles away. Oh my goodness gracious me. We all see our own sun a couple of miles away.
Yeah. Yep. It's
So it's all like crazy and yeah. And we all see that.
And feel it. Well,
I mean,
yeah.
oh
Well,
no.
well, I was gonna say, when you were talking about the moon going away, and then you having to drive 7 miles to see it, and people seeing the moon on the west coast while it's above me, and I'm on the east. It's kind of a little bit more mysterious now because I'm thinking like there's no way there's two moons or there's no way there's two suns, but could it be an individual experience? Could your sun be yours and mine be mine? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that what you?
like connected
Yeah,
to
because
your
you can. Oh, sorry. Go on, Lev.
like that, like connected to your third eye. So it's
Right.
so it's always from your perspective, but it's shared with time. So it's like, whilst it's dark over here, it's light in America and so on and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's almost like breathing, It's like you are breathing your breath and I'm breathing my breath, but it's all the same air, almost.
Yeah. So we're seeing the same
Yeah.
illusion kind of thing in the sky and stuff. There's another thing like in the yin yang and stuff it's the opposites of the duality of the world and stuff like that. You got man, woman, sun and moon and stuff like that. They also reference like moon to be feminine. Like dragons are so feminine because it's mystical. The opposite of dragon is tiger because it's real. You know what I mean? And stuff like. So in the same sense, the moon may be more of a spiritual nature, whereas the sun may be more of a physical nature. And I kind of think maybe I don't know, food for thought kind of thing.
That's interesting.
And don't forget, if we went to a beach, say it was you and me, Masterpiece, and you stood 10 feet up from me and you took a picture of the sun coming to your feet, it's not coming to mine. And I'll do the same, it's coming to mine and not yours.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's one of those other mysteries. About the physical and the mysterious moon. Here's something that I was playing with a couple months ago. They always say, wish upon a star. We correlate desires and wishes with the nighttime. And the sun, it's shooting out. Its rays are emanating outward. And I was wondering if the moon and the stars take our will and transfer it to the sun, and the sun projects our will back down on us. If I pray for, say, a happy day, then the moon hears me and the stars hear me. They say, sun, he wants a happy day, give it to him. And then it is, your wish is manifested through the sun, the giver.
Yeah, it makes sense to say, yeah. Like you create your own reality, so you've got to put your own intentions and thought into it, haven't you? Like you say, as that projects out as if it's dreams or, you know what I mean, and all these different things affect you and stuff. And then you can feel the sun, can't you, in that kind of sense? You can feel the moon, but it's different. And you're more spiritual on an evening. You can focus more, you can draw better, you can write better. Better or whatever.
Hey, Lev, the sun heard you then. It's been cloudy all day. And I look out the window when you're saying that and I can see that the sun has come out. It's been really cloudy here all day. There must be some really miserable English people here.
Oh man.
That's the government's fault. They condition us.
Yeah, but in the end, we'll have to say we can't blame them, because we still give them away our responsibility to them now, because it's all their fault. And a lot of people in Flat Earth are waking up and trying to take responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, really, at the end of the day. It's just making up our own minds and not listening to an agency, no matter how much money or CGI they have.
Yeah, it's that damn CGI in that swimming pool.
Yep. But I must be taking off because I have a little daughter to go pay attention to.
Oh, really enjoyed this. It's been a long time coming with you.
Yes.
To hook up. Yeah, well, today was going to be a shorter hangout, obviously, because we were catching up with you and wanted to hear your stuff about the eclipse. But can we say goodbye off air, because we will finish the hangout now, because it was an extra day, guys. Saturday's usually a day off. We'll say goodbye to you off air, if that's okay. Thank you so much for that, and I hope people go back and re-look about that bit about the eclipse that you did, and look at it a few times to put in your mind what you were saying. And it was really great having a hangout with you. And thank you, Lev. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Astral, who's gone home now. And thank you very much, Masterpiece.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you to everybody out there in the chat. Feel free to message me, email me, masterpiece9@gmail.com. Once again, I'll make myself available for anybody, anytime. So thank you so much, guys. Panels, I love you guys, and thanks for having me.
Yay! Well, thank you to us, and see you tomorrow evening. Anyway, big hugs, everybody.
Love you all.